Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, CEO and founder of Kismet Ventures Inc. I have a YouTube channel, Munira Zahabi, but I call my segment Munira's Musings. I am on a mission of finding people who are instilling values into people, but are not taking the accolades for it. I have found today Kristina Crooks from California, and she's joining us for our segment. Hi, Kristina.
Hi, Munira. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for sharing some of your wisdom with us today.
Sure. Thanks for working with my strange environment because we're trying to get best lighting.
It's what works.
Hey, it's all about improvisation.
Yes, it is. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
So for the last, so many places to start. So I'll give you kind of the transformational moments in my life that have led me to this very moment today now. The first one was moving from California to upstate New York when I was about 15 years old. I was raised in a very dysfunctional home around addiction, and something had to change. I had dropped out of school. I was at risk. I was an at-risk youth. I was headed in a very crappy situation. I was headed just on the bad road. Those are terrible words to use, but that's the best I got at this particular moment. So it was not headed in a positive direction. And I moved to the East Coast to be with my sister and I to be with my grandmother. I got back in school. My life became healthier. I started teaching choice theory to teachers and administrators. I was a member of multiple leadership groups and ran a culture club to be inclusive of different cultures in that area. And at that moment, I realized I was not my circumstances. I was not my past. I was not the decisions other people had to make for me, and that I could chart a new course. And so for me, that was a very transformational time in my life where I realized my path could change based on what I was doing. So then fast forward, I was there for 4 years. I graduated high school with honors, then moved back to California to Santa Cruz for 10 years, and kind of, to use a friend's phrasing, Forrest Gumped my way through adulthood and tried to figure things out as I went, and sought out personal growth and sought out mentors and self-help and tried to figure out my own patterns. And my next one was, I was in a relationship for 10 years and married and went through a divorce about 5 years ago. And that was another transformational time in my life where I went, okay, I thought everything was fine, and then some things happened and it wasn't fine and it had to be done. So that chapter ended very abruptly, and I was left trying to figure it out and going, how do I get through this? Because when you go through divorce, you feel like a total failure and like you did everything you could, and how could this happen? And so many limiting beliefs and so many tissue boxes and nights on the floor sobbing to sleep. And it's a death. It's grieving. It's the death of a dream, the death of a relationship. And so that was a really transformational moment for me as well. And so from that point forward, I knew I had this dream to run an event company, to do things that inspired other people, and to bring my energy to the world in a really big way. I have a big energy, and I've always had a big energy. And being raised in the environment I was, a lot of times that was too much. And it took the spotlight off of the people that wanted spotlights on them. So I was told consistently, you're too much, it's too much, you're too much. As I've grown and gotten older and gotten more comfortable with that, I have found I'm actually not too much. I just have a ton of energy, and I can lift people up in really, really big ways. So the last 3 years, I've worked at a small special needs school. Before that, I worked for a small, I've done a lot of different things, but my consistent thing that I've done was helping businesses go from barely making it to being profitable. And that's always the process for me. It's like I know my work is done there once they're successful and the owner is self-sustaining. And I've been at this small special needs school for 3 years here in Silicon Valley, and it changed my life. Being able to work with the kids, being able to run the business, learning all about, I mean, the business has been there for 14 years, but this is the first time that it's been profitable, where not only all the salaries are paid, but the owner can also support her own life. And that was really validating to me. And so I found myself a coach and I went, okay, I'm ready to do my dream. And my dream is to have an event in 2.5 years called Empowered Human Conference and Festival with 3,000 plus people as an annual event to create a physical platform for people to bring their gifts and share with the world and create a community. So that's my big one. And the one that will support getting there is running small events and workshops in the meantime and doing one-on-one coaching. Most of my clients are people that they know their vision, they know their dream, and they're doing stuff, but it's more busyness than it is purposeful action. So I combined ontological coaching, which is the art of being a human being, with purposeful action. So it's like mindfulness and just being in the moment and appreciating the moment with purposeful action. And a lot of people don't know how to combine those two. And for me to sit back and make space for someone to share their story with me, meet them where they are, hold space for the big emotions and the big fear that comes up through that process and then watch them flourish in that moment. We were talking a little earlier about watching that spark happen. When you get to see that little flame in people turn into a raging fire and watch them bring that to the world, my heart explodes every time. And I think I'm so honored to be in this space with you and help you on this journey. And it's not to tell them what I know or be a guru of any kind, and that's never a goal I have, or sell someone that the relationship doesn't work for. My goal is to show up, be more present than them, and reflect back what their goals are and keep them accountable. And that's it.
You say like, that's it. See, this is where
that's all I do.
You do so much, but then don't take the accolades, right? So so many things that you said. So kudos for you for finding yourself and going to New York, playing, staying in school with your grandma and then coming back, but having established yourself, right? Because that's where you need to find, and that's a very critical age where most kids then fall off the creek or the ledge, because it's a very dangerous ledge, being a teenager or a child, you don't know. And
because you don't know what's going on in here anyway. Yeah. Like, you're just like, I'm a mess and I hate everyone. And there's so many hormones at that age. So,
and the hormones go wacky, and the child is becoming an adult, and there is no rule book as to this is the thing that we got to follow. And I realized that because I have 4 kids, and I went through that, and there was raging hormones, and there was growth and spurts and shoes every 3 months or sometimes 2 months, and so clothes every so often. So it's like, what do? You either take it with a grain of salt, but the kids have to go through it also, the parents have to observe, the kids have to go through it, but you did a good job. Well, I appreciate the fact that you shared your story, and really I am very thankful that you did. But you said quite a few of other things. You started with the leadership stuff, even in New York. Mm-hmm. Why did you think that was your calling?
Leadership?
Yes.
Because people gravitate to me for it. And they did then. And that was the first time I got to step into that role. And I just did it naturally anyway. And if there was a problem with something, I would figure out the answer. People would come to me for answers for things, and they would come to me for guidance. And it was actually my guidance counselor in high school that went, there's 4 students being picked for the whole area of 1,500 students. I want you to be one of them to lead this group. And I went, well, why me? She's like, because you're literally not afraid of anything and you just do it. And I didn't even know that was there until I stepped into the role and someone else saw it in me. And since then, I've realized having all that happen at such a transformational time, like you're talking about, with hormones are crazy, you're not sure if you love or hate the world, and some days it's both within an hour. And having that happen at that time in my life makes it so whenever I'm against an edge in my adult life, I go, okay, I've got a choice. How am I going to show up for this? Because I can either not show up, I can show up fully, or I can resist it. How am I going to win the most in this for me? And so by doing that at 15 at such a transformational age, I've found that I am just in my element when I get to lead. When I'm able to lead a person through themselves, because we all get lost. We get lost in our head with our inner critic, and we hit our edge, and then we go, I don't know what I'm doing. And if someone's like right next to you, just going, yeah, you do. You totally do. Just listen. Let's be quiet.
And that's what it is, right? Because we get the gremlins. Some people call it, like you said, the inner voice. Some people call it, the spirit. Some people call it the gremlins.
The inner critic, yeah.
They call it. It is that voice that's your inner critic. You said that's the one that's going to make sure that you don't succeed, because you are your own inner critic, like you said. That and so we have to overcome that. And you have that uncanny ability to do that. And most people are still looking. I know people who are older who are still looking for that, how to shut that voice down.
Well, and I think what draws me to the world of being a coach, an ontological coach, and a leadership consultant is that I have spent the better part of my adult life looking for mentors and looking for leaders and looking for people that model how I wanted to be. And I found a lot of people in leadership positions that don't know what they're doing. And surprise!
Because I had the same epiphany the other day, so.
Yeah, and they don't. And sometimes they're downright hurting people. And it's not always that, but a lot of times their egos are getting in the way. They would rather be right than show up. And I mean that in an energetic way.
So I'm always looking for people to collaborate with. And I haven't found any, because I find that most people want to keep their cake and eat it too, right? They don't want to share. But as I grow, and I'm on a growth spurt right now. So as I grow and I'm learning, I realize that there are some people, we just have to find them, because they're not everywhere. Everybody else is everywhere. There's just some people who you have to find, like unique pieces of art or diamonds, My friend would say that. Barbara would say that.
They are truly gems. And when you do find them, you stick them in a ring and put them on your finger.
Yeah. I have a crown, so I have a place for each one. I have yet to find very many of them. But the thing is, I think that most coaches are not listening. And, I think you and I think some part of me is that I am very happy when people are just talking to me so I understand. I mean, I had a conversation with my brother-in-law yesterday. He called me and he goes, you seem all preoccupied. He has his habit of calling me when he's going home from work. And so I was like, how do you seem preoccupied, you're not listening to me. So I gave him word for word what he had said. And he goes, oh my God, you're listening. And I said, yes, that's my job. I listen to people. as a coach, I have to do that. I said, do you want to be my client? And of course he doesn't, because he thinks that I'm not doing anything right. But that's the other thing, is support, right? You need proper support. Well, not about me. It's about this interview is about you. So let's talk about the fact that you said divorce was like dying. And
oh, yes, it was. I mean, I literally felt like my body was being ripped apart when I was going through my divorce. And it changed me in wonderful ways, where something can be difficult now, and I'm like, not as bad as that. Not as bad as that. And I think a lot of that was, you depend on that other person in your life, and there are parts where I thought we were just interdependent, but I learned that there was a codependence on both sides, and you break that kind of enmeshment. I mean, divorce is really, it's divorcing yourself from that person and that energy, and it's heavy stuff. And you know, at the end of the day, between that experience and being in New York, what I bring to coaching now is, first of all, I've been there. I do my own work regularly. I live at my edge. I am not perfect. I screw up. I fall down. I dust the mud off my face, and I get back up. And it's not easy. Some days are harder than others. And I'm honest about that stuff with my clients. And I'll put things out into the world where I am falling on my face, so that they know I totally do shit that's scary all the time. And, you know, at the end of the day, with my clients, it's not about, let me show you how much I know because I know more than you do. That's not the conversation I'm interested in having. The conversation I like having is, I see greatness in you. I think you're amazing. Let me show you what I see. Do you trust me? And that's the conversation I like having, because when they turn around and they go, oh, how did you see that so long ago? And I'm like, oh, welcome to the party. Like, you see your greatness. Yes, let's do this.
yeah, and like you said, most people live in their shaded self. They don't allow their selves to sprout out. So it gives me the analogy I give people is that, you know, you are a little plant in a jungle. You need that sunlight. So sprout and spurt up. You know, you have to do that to get to the sunlight, because if you don't, there's nothing coming your way. You have to fight for it, if you will. But you have to fight within yourself to get to the top. Now, whatever the top.
Am I allowed to say a swear word on here?
If you want.
There's a quote. That's okay. It's coming, YouTube. So if there are kids in the room, you may want to have them exit for a moment. The quote that has been my motto lately with my clients, and just in life in general, is, stop waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel and light that bitch up yourself.
I like it.
Because nobody's going to do it for you. And
Nobody's doing
who
it
has
for you.
no, and the person that has your best interests always is you and spirit. And when you're connected to source and connected to spirit, and you're listening to that yearning, that pull, you will show up in places where you're like, I have no idea why I'm here, but this is where I'm supposed to be right now. True. And that's it. And then stuff starts working out. And when you have a vision of where you're going, the route may change, and GPS will reroute you constantly. As long as you hold that vision and you hold your dreams and you hold that as sacred, you will get there. The route may change. That's it. And so you readjust constantly.
Yeah. Sometimes you get a detour in life. So take the detour and find another way to your destination.
Exactly.
You know, so that's an awesome analogy, and thank you for sharing that.
You're
but
welcome.
Then tell me, you said something now that you've been working with with a special needs school. So one, how did you find this job? And two, how are you helping this school to be profitable? I mean, do you have business knowledge?
Yes. I don't have a degree in it because I haven't gone that route. But I that was one of those things where it was a detour, and it was like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And it was a friend of a friend that had a school, and it wasn't doing so great, and she needed someone to work alongside her kind of as a personal assistant and someone who could do the business aspects of things that she wasn't as good at. And I called her one day and I said, hey, are you still looking for someone? And I was mostly just calling to say hi and see if I could connect her with someone else. But I had left a job in tech the week before, realizing that that was not for me. It was just way too much about money. And I don't work well in scenarios where they put money before people. And I think people in relationships are the most important thing in life. And that's where wealth is. So I needed to be in a place that was like that. And I was kind of going, I don't know what's next. I called her and she went, can you start tomorrow? And I said, yeah, okay. So it became home for me. And I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I really kind of needed a place that I could pause and be an entrepreneur in some ways without someone telling me how to do my job. And so she didn't. She needed help so much on the business end that she wasn't going, do it this way, this way, this way. She just went, I don't know what's happening with this, but we need to change it. Can you fix it? And I went, I don't know. Let's see. And we became what's called an NPS, a non-public school, and I earned a certification for that. It took 4 years. And I took over about a year worth of work from someone else that had been helping her. And that meant we could contract with with the districts to take students into this special needs school that the district would then pay for if a child was on an IEP. There's a whole lot of acronyms, so I'm sorry. IEP is just individualized education plan.
So you have to learn a lot of things?
What's the question again?
Did you have to learn a lot of things?
I did.
Okay.
Absolutely. And I had to learn just the basics, ins and outs of running a business and paying a staff and running payroll and doing QuickBooks and how to work with the government when they want everything in paper form, and they apparently don't work in the digital age. So it's government agencies can be, the whole bureaucracy is a bit frustrating. But we were able to take it from she was putting money into the school every year to pay payroll and not taking a paycheck because this was her passion and it was difficult for her to accept money. And me working with her personally on just being able to accept and treating it more like a business rather than just home. And so we were able to take it to where now she gets a full salary, the business is profitable, and now she's going into business with 2 partners that will take my place.
Oh, so what are you going to do?
So I'm doing my coaching company. So my coaching company is Aristobio, and Aristo means excellent or best, and bio means life. So it means excellent life. And the tagline is live your life on purpose. And so I'm going full-time into my coaching business in September. That's
awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
So both of you achieved the goals that you were gunning for. And then that experience helps you to figure out your business as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. It made it so much easier. Like, I know all the LLC stuff now. I know how to bring on employees when I'm ready for that. And my goal is to take Aristobio to a point where there's several coaches that believe in Aristobio's philosophy, which is meeting people where they are first and helping them grow beyond that. And training coaches that can work under that brand. And then Empowered Human will be another brand under Aristobio, which runs events, workshops, and retreats.
That's awesome. Cool. That's awesome. I have a few coaches under my belt who need that.
Go ahead.
So what do you tell people who are trying to figure out a place in life?
So ones that are trying to find their purpose.
Their purpose.
Is that what you mean?
Yes. Their purpose, they don't know what they're doing. What do you tell them?
So usually the people that I work with usually know that I'm usually the step once they've figured that out. But for people that I just meet for finding their purpose, it's a couple of things. It's creativity. When you're creative, you are able to be more curious. So it's curiosity, creativity, playfulness, and nature, and silence. So it's 5 things really. It's you discover wonderful things about yourself in deep silence, and you can do that in nature. And being connected to nature reminds us of our interconnectedness with the world. And it gives you a sense of purpose just by being. So it really helps you to be in the moment by being in nature and in silence. Being playful is total joy. There's a difference between joy and happiness. Happiness is external, joy is internal. And when we're playing and we're creative and we're curious, instead of being the persecutor or the judge, we are the scientist and the world is our lab. When we look at our perspective changes that way, we hear our purpose, we feel it.
So people should just be silent?
People should be one of those few things. Going into silence in nature is helpful. So just being in nature. Some people, they can't quiet it enough, and that's okay. So playing and being curious in that play and creativity, whether it's going to see an improv show or doing improv if you're brave enough, or maybe it's making a bracelet and being creative. So it's doing something that you feel drawn to that has no purpose other than you feel good when you're doing it. Okay. So I would say the first step would be like a blanket statement would be creative. Make something, create.
It doesn't matter if you're making a bracelet or printing a picture, just do something.
Yes.
Okay. No, I mean, the reason I'm asking is because I have to act as the devil's advocate here.
Yeah, no, that's great. Bring it.
Some people are just going to look at you and say, what are you saying? You know?
Yeah, and you know, sometimes people will say, oh, I'm not creative. I can't, I don't get into that. I go, okay, look on Pinterest, find something that inspires you and find a way to be creative. Or your creativity could be in spontaneity. It could be going for a hike in the woods. Because a lot of times the people that don't know how to be creative, they can go for a walk along the water or a walk in the woods or go be in nature. Like that they can do because it doesn't take a lot. And then just see what comes up. Sometimes it's tears. Sometimes it's I'm bored. A great quote by a woman named Lynn Twist is, I don't believe there is any such thing as boredom. I just believe there's a disconnection from source.
That's awesome. That's a very good quote. It's true. Yeah. Because most people, I mean, I've seen kids these days, I'm bored, and it's like, no, let's go to do something. Why do you always have to do something? I have grandkids, can you tell? So
well, we're a society of doing, not being. Most people don't know how to be. And when you're in joy, when you're creative, when you're curious, when you have that childlike wonder, you're being. You're not doing anything. There's no real purpose. The purpose is just because you're enjoying it. So you do something that feeds that, and it'll lead you to the next thing, which will lead you to the next thing. And eventually you'll have a vision. And if your first thought is, oh, no way, I could never do that. Yeah, that's probably your purpose. And you can, and you will.
Okay. So for people who are trying to get into their businesses, or they're trying to just think outside the box, you're telling them to be creative. Just be creative and find your purpose.
Be creative. Find a way to be creative.
Okay. No, I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense to me because, you know, I have grandkids, so I have Legos here. And then sometimes when they're not there, I just try to put things together, and it's amazing what you come up with when you're not even thinking about it so much, you know. But it just gives me a way to relax, because I have, so that's just the way I unwind myself once in a while, you know. And I sew sometimes. I know some people who sew. I sew sometimes, but I have these ideas, but I just can't put them into work because of no time. But sometimes when I do get creative, it's amazing that I can do something. But see, you have a different approach in coaching people, because not everybody is going to use the creative route. I mean, somebody's going to, you have to read the book, you know, you have to do this, you have to fill out this paperwork. And it's like, yeah, but can I just not be myself? And that's what you're asking people to do, just be yourself.
Right. So my two go-tos are be creative or be in silence, preferably in nature.
Okay.
And those two, and I will say with the be in silence, sometimes there's a part of that that's be in silence for 5 minutes and then 5 minutes listen to your favorite song. It's so specific to the person, what resonates with them. And you're right. Like, it's, you know, the people that are my clients they tend to be creatives. I tend to attract creatives. Couldn't imagine why. And so I don't tend to attract people that are going to say that kind of thing, because they just wouldn't gravitate to me. And that's fine. And for those people, especially like in this area, there's a lot of people that overwork, and they spend 80, 90, 100-hour weeks working in Silicon Valley. And I've had a couple clients like that, and they want to be creative, but they're like, I don't have any time. Or they want to start a business, but they're spending 100 hours a week working for someone else. And the thing is, my job is to slow them down and to get them to make space for silence and breathe and just be, because they're so good at doing, they're so good at crossing things off their list. That is not the issue. Purposeful action is the issue, because they're just doing, they're just going, they're henny pennying everything and just doing it themselves. That's fine, but you're going to be unhappy because you're not taking care of yourself. If you're only sleeping 5-6 hours a night, you're going to be tired. So I went on a bit of a rant.
No, but that's true. But see, I mean, you live in a place in Silicon Valley where, you know, people just keep going, you know, and so you see that pattern, right? Compared to if you were living in, you know, Hollowbrook or some
Kansas,
you know, yeah, where people are just, oh, I'll just take it easy. Well, hello, life is easy here, you know. So
it's very fast here, very fast.
Yeah, so it depends.
So I usually, if I'm in front of someone, I grab them by the shoulders and I go, just breathe. It's okay. Breathe. And if we're on the phone, I do some grounding with them first, depending, because they're coming on the phone and they had meeting after meeting after meeting, and they come in and they've got this kind of energy, and I just go, okay, let's bring it down. Let's talk about where you're at, and meet them where they are, and go from there.
Well, thank you so much for your advice and time today. I appreciate it, and
Thanks for having me.
No, I'm sure the listeners are going to enjoy having you, and you know, you'll never know what's going to happen with these videos. I'm going to share it on YouTube. People who watch this can like and subscribe to my channel, and then I will have information on Kristina as well, and you can find her on whatever platform she's on, and good luck to you on your business. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And, you know, I thank you for your time again, and I appreciate you. And for the viewers, please like and share if you like this. And thank you again.
Thank you for having me. Please support Munira and everything she's doing. She's meeting a lot of wonderful people.